Hello React, welcome! So, in today's video we're going to be taking a look on the neuron, both about its physiology and its communication, which is divided into two different parts, the action potential and the synaptic transmission. So, beforehand, we gotta know that our brain is made of 86 billion of nerve cells called neurons, and their role is to communicate with one another through sending electrochemical signals, which we call neurotransmitters. So let's go over the physiology of the neuron, which is actually pretty simple to understand as it is divided into only three different parts. The first one is called dendrites, second one the cell body, and the third one the axon. That's pretty much it. So the dendrites are these little things that are similar to roots, which the neurotransmitters are get involved in. The cell body is where the nucleus of the neuron is localized. So even if it has a nucleus, we gotta remember that it doesn't have the capacity to reproduce in itself. That's why some neurodegenerative progressive diseases, such as the Borges diseases and the Alzheimer's diseases, they're so hard to cure, they're so hard to heal, they're so hard to treat, because once the neuron is dead, there's no turning back, so it's pretty hard to heal that, but that's still working it. And lastly, we have the axon, which is the longer part of the neuron, where the action potential, the first part of the neuron communication is going to happen. And that's pretty much it for this physiology. We have the dendrites, the cell body, and the axon. And before going to its communication, we gotta know that there's something outside of the cells that's called the potassium and sodium bond, the sodium-potassium bond, which are going to show that there's going to be potassium inside of the cell as much as there's going to be sodium outside of the cell. It happens like this. It's kind of a circle that gets sodium and gets potassium. So it's going to turn around, making the potassium go outside and making the sodium go inside. Then it's going to turn around again, doing the opposite job. So it's going to make sure there's going to be potassium and sodium inside and outside of the cell. And here's a good example of this, of the neuron. We have potassium inside of the cell, and we have sodium outside of it. But even if both of them are positive molecules, we have more sodium outside of the cell than potassium inside of it. So we can say that the outside of the cell is more positive. Hence, inside of the cell, it's kind of more negative, it's less positive. And we say that when the neuron is resting, when it's not doing anything, this difference of short is like minus 70 millivolts. So what we have to do now to make the neuron communicate with one another, we have to stimulate it to get more positive. And it happens like this. We're going to be excitatory neurotransmitters coming from a presynaptic neuron, the neuron behind, let's say like glutamate. We're going to see this process of the synaptic transmission. Okay, it's going to be very clear, some limits. Then it's going to bounce to the receptor, it's going to bounce to the dendrites. This is going to stimulate the opening of a sodium gate. Sodium that was outside of the cell is going to start going inside of it. And as I stated before, sodium is a positive molecule. So it's going to start getting even more positive, and it's going to take it around from minus 70 to minus 55. Once it hits minus 55, there's something called the threshold, which happens like this. It's a very important part of the neuron communication. It's going to stimulate all the sodium gates and spread through the neuron to open. Once all the sodium gates are open, a lot of sodium that was outside of the cell is going to start going inside. Hence, it's going to make the neuron very positive. It's really going to stimulate it and send a signal. It's going to stimulate a lot. So it's going to take it from minus 55 to positive 40. Once it hits positive 40, we're going to make it rest. It's ready on its job, and we cannot just tell it run to fire. Otherwise, it's going to be overstimulated. So once it hits positive 40, we're going to have to make it rest, and it happens like this. All the sodium gates, they are going to close, making the sodium that was outside of the cells go inside. It's not going to be able to go inside anymore. As much as potassium gates that were inside of the cell, they're going to open. So the sodium that was inside is going to start going outside. And as a formation, potassium is also a positive molecule. So once it's going outside, it's making the neuron more negative, right? So it's going to make it even more negative, not just make the neuron rest. Taking the neuron from positive 40 to negative 90, again, even more negative than when it started. And that's pretty much it about the action potential, which is normally represented by a graphic. It happens like this. The neuron, once it's not doing anything, it's going to be negative 70. So the glutamate is going to come in, it's going to bound to the receptor, and it's going to stimulate the sodium gate to open. So it's going to get more positive because sodium is going inside. Then it's going to hit -55, allowing the threshold to happen. So it's going to get even more positive because all the sodium gates got open, making a lot of sodium on the side. So it's going to hit +40. Once it hits +40, the neuron's going to have to rest, otherwise it was going to be overstimulated. So the sodium gates are going to close, the potassium gates are going to open. Sodium is not going to be able to go inside of the cell anymore. Potassium is going to start going outside, taking the neuron from +40 to -90. We call this first process depolarization and the second process repolarization. Both respectively make the neuron be excited and exciting the neuron, and the second one is going to make the neuron rest. So lastly, we have the synaptic transmission that occurs like this. By the end of the action potential, there's going to be calcium going inside instead of sodium. And calcium works like this. Once it enters the neuron, it stimulates these little things here that are called vesicles. They're black little grains containing neurotransmitters inside of it. Calcium is going to stimulate it to go in this direction. Once it goes here, it's going to end up in the neuron's plasma membrane, which will allow the neurotransmitters to break it down. Vesicles are going to break it down, releasing these neurotransmitters. And let's say there is a neuron here, just a presynaptic neuron, the neuron that comes behind right here. So let's just take a quick remember. It's going to release its neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are going to come, they're going to bounce neurons, it's going to stimulate its sodium gates to open, and sodium is going to start going inside, making the neurons get more positive, and the whole action potential is going to happen again. So that's it for today's class. We could take a look on the neuron's physiology. We could also take a look on its communication, both the action potential and the synaptic transmission. And I hope I could teach you something today, and I hope I've helped you out with something. So thanks for watching, and see you.